Good evening. Welcome to tonight's session of our Maria Kannon Zen community that we have set aside as a special event, a commemoration in gratitude for the life of the Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh, who passed away a few days ago, but who gave us a model of living a life of mindfulness, of heartfulness, I would like to say, and who also continues to embody for us what each and every one of us can be in our own way. And I'm so glad to see so many people tonight beyond the regular sitters of our Tuesday evening group. And we have literally a worldwide participation. I see Ruth David from the Philippines. Hello there. I see John McConville from Thailand and so many others from other states, which I will not name. But tonight we have a special guest in Bobbie Perkins, who is the co-founder with Brother Cheesing of the Dallas Meditation Center, which continues as a thriving meditation center here in the heart of Dallas. Bobbie is a student, disciple of Thich Nhat Hanh himself. She has received his training directly and has known him and has followed his way of practice for all of these years. And we are also indebted to Brother Cheesing, who passed away a few years ago, who helped in establishing the Dallas Meditation Center that Bobbie is now directing. So without further ado, I would like to invite Bobbie to pay tribute to Thich Nhat Hanh. And then I believe Helen has invited individuals to also share their recollections and how Thich Nhat Hanh impacted their life. And then we will have other comments later. And then we will have a chant to honor Thich Nhat Hanh and also to express our oneness in the practice through these chants. So may I then invite Bobbie Perkins to please address us, giving your tribute to our dear late teacher.
Thank you so much, Ruben. I'm delighted to be here, and thank you for inviting me. Of course, Thich Nhat Hanh lived to be 95, and he did so much in his life that you'll just have to read about it online. There's a lot of information online, some beautiful poems and meditations and stories about his life. But I just wanted to share with you a little bit about my experience. I only knew him in kind of as a part of a retreat. And still, it was a very profound experience, and actually, I'd have to call it transformative, because before I met Cheesing and before I started working at the meditation center, before I even knew anything about Thich Nhat Hanh, I signed up for this retreat to go to Magnolia Grove in Mississippi. And it was, at first, it was a very difficult thing to do. I had never been on this kind of a retreat. And we arrived a little late, so we got a late start. I didn't know what was happening. It was stressful, to say the least. And in fact, it didn't smooth out until about the second day of the retreat. And this is when I really began to observe Thich Nhat Hanh, who was present at the retreat. And when I did that, I began to notice just his presence. He was not a big man, but his presence was huge. You literally could feel his presence when he walked into the meditation hall. There were several hundred people there, And I know he gave addresses to thousands in his life. But still, it was his presence, his energy was so powerful that you could feel it. And just watching him walk to the whiteboard where he would make notes, just watching him go in his slow, mindful manner, just the way he picked up the marker, everything. It was just so obvious that he was exactly in the present moment. It seemed certainly that he wasn't thinking about anything else except exactly what he was doing. That turned the corner for me. I began really to calm down and recognize that I was in the presence of a master, and I really should take advantage of it and be still, be quiet. It made such an impact on me that during that meditation, I decided to take the 5 mindfulness trainings, which is like the first step in becoming a member of the Order of Inner Being. So the other thing that happened in that very first retreat was my experience with walking meditation. This is something, again, that I had never done. And so Ty was at the front of the river. It looks like a river of people walking quietly. He was at the front, and he led us to a kind of a clearing where he sat with some children around him. And he was demonstrating how to hold a bell, just very, very gently in his fingers, and how to invite the bell. And just that simple lesson had a lot of us in the crowd watching, had us weeping because it was just so beautiful. So that retreat ended up for me to be pivotal in my life and in my practice. The next time I saw him was at the retreat in 2013. And again, this time I knew what to expect. So I was eager and ready to participate. But what I noticed, obviously, was the very same thing. He was Thich Nhat Hanh. He was very, very present. He was happy. He in his talks, which you can see online and on YouTube, but in his talks, there's always a little bit of humor. He makes these little jokes, and it's just delightful to be in the room, in the meditation hall, with him talking, sharing, teaching. It was wonderful. In that retreat, I determined that I wanted to start a sangha. So when we got back to Dallas, with the help of Chi Sing, I started the Interbeing Sangha, which we are still practicing at the meditation center. The next time I went on retreat, Ty was not there because he had had a stroke. And the thing that I remember most about that retreat was how it seemed that all of us who were there, and it was a smaller group, but all of us who were there recognized ourselves as Ty's continuation. We knew that we had been privileged to hear him in person, to see him in person, and we knew that if his teaching, if his life was going to have an impact and be long-lasting, that it would be up to us to continue his teachings, continue to live as mindfully as we can. And so that retreat was very important and very impactful, even though he was not there. In 2017, the next time, at the next retreat, I was ordained into the Order of Interbeing. And Thai was not there, but there, the monks and nuns who were at Magnolia Grove were very, very supportive, and they had been trained so well that we all felt his presence, even though he was not physically there. I want to end with a poem. You know, of course, that Thai was a poet, an artist. He did beautiful calligraphy. He wrote, I don't even know how many books, hundreds. And this one he wrote is about death and dying. He said, "The moment I die, I will try to come back to you as quickly as possible. I promise it will not take long. Isn't it true I am already with you as I die every moment? In each moment, just look, feel my presence. If you want to cry, please cry, and know that I will cry with you. The tears you shed will heal us both, your tears and mine. The earth I tread this morning transcends history. Spring and winter are both present in the moment. The young leaf and the old leaf are really one. My feet touch deathlessness, and my feet are yours. Walk with me now. Let us enter the dimension of oneness and see the cherry tree blossom in winter. Why should we talk about death? I don't need to die to be with you." Thank you for inviting me. I've enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you so much, Bobbie, for that beautiful tribute and that beautiful poem of Thai. I believe Helen has invited some individuals to share what Thich Nhat Hanh meant to them or means to them. Helen?
Yes, before we do that, why don't we sit for just 1 minute and reflect on what Bobbie just wrote? I think it would be wonderful to do that.
Excellent. Let us do that. 1 minute in silence, appreciating Bobbie's sharing and the poem that she shared.
I did not ask anybody or did not assign anybody or to give to share anything. If you would like to say something about any book you've read or any poem you've read or any experience that relates to the life of Thai, please just raise your hand and I'll unmute you. Anybody? Yes, Nan.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to share with the group that I've never met Thich Nhat Hanh in person, but over the course of over 20 years, I have been savoring a lot of his books and a lot of his poetry and writing. And so when I work with families, at the end of the program, when I teach classes for parenting classes, I typically would like to share something for the parents to be able to take with them. And part of what I share is Thich Nhat Hanh's work. And I wanted to read to the group today what I typically share to the parents after the program when I teach the parenting class. So it goes like this. When you plant lettuce, if it does not grow well, you do not blame the lettuce. You look for reasons it's not doing well. It may need fertilizer or more water or less sun. You never blame the lettuce. Yes, yet if we have problems with our friends or family, we blame the other person. But if we know how to take care of them, they will grow well. Like the lettuce, blaming has no positive effect at all, nor does trying to persuade using reason and argument. That is my experience. No blame, no reasoning, no argument, just understanding. If you understand and you show that you understand, you can love and the situation will change. Thich Nhat Hanh.
Please unmute.
Yes, good evening, Bobbie. That was lovely. I just want to say, some of you know that if it hadn't been for me going to a Thich Nhat Hanh retreat in 2001, I would have never found Maria Kannon. At that retreat, if you want to Facebook me, I put the tender moments, but I'd like to share some of the lighter moments. At the time when I went, I had been very sick prior to that. And I don't mean to offend anybody. There's a new age, like all of your sickness you cause. And I went up to Ty and I said, I don't know. I was so bold. I went up to him and I go, do you ever get sick? And he belly laughed. He just belly laughed. And he I think if he was a New Yorker, he would have given me the rolling eyes, but he didn't. And he goes, of course I do. And I went, oh, phew, okay. I know that spiritual people get sick. And it was, the beauty that I remember most of all was he believed that every time a bell rang, you stop and you take 3 deep breaths. So we were on the UCLA San Diego campus, and they have church bells. And every time the bell went, you would see hundreds of people just stop and take 3 deep breaths. I'm getting goosebumps because it was palpable. And again, like you, Bobbie, with the walking meditation. And I remember when I got to the airport to go home, I almost lost my flight because I was walking so slow. I wasn't used to that. And it was, I caught it. But it was when I came home and I was so welcomed. I didn't know where to go. And I found MKCC, and Ruben and Helen welcomed me so. And the rest is history, because Ruben, I'm happy to say, is my teacher now.
Mark.
So I started sitting in the early 90s up in a little Quaker town called Pennsdale. It's barely had enough people, maybe a dozen people in the town. But there was a Buddhist nun there who had spent some time at Plum Village. So all of our chants were from the Plum Village chanting book. And instead of doing, or after we sat for 25 and did kinin and sat for 25 more, we always went out before work practice and walked in the manner that Nhat Hanh taught. And over those years, since 30 years now, his words have been really powerful and to me. And Maxine, I remember that little saying that Diane taught us whenever we heard a bell ring. Listen to that beautiful sound calling me to my true home. Listen. And to this day, that's a powerful gift. So thank you very much for making time for this.
Please unmute. You please unmute. Unmute yourself.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I've been teaching at the University of Maine for 20 years, and I've used a book, I teach a course on Buddhism and peace studies. And I've looking through many of books to use, I came across The Heart of the Buddhist Teachings by Thich Nhat Hanh. I've many of other books as well, but I find this to be the most comprehensive and the most helpful to students. It's a wonderful introductory book, but also the more I peruse it and the more I interact with students, the more deeply it has influenced me. So I'll just say that, I think right now, if I added up all the students over the 20 years, it might be 500 or so students, and I've always had great expressions of gratitude at the end of the courses. There are fairly intense courses. Now they're online. Before they were in the classroom. So just on the very first few pages, there's a wonderful kind of introduction. If we read or listen with an open mind and an open heart, the rain of the Dharma will penetrate the soil of our consciousness. Then there are two lines of poetry. The gentle spring rain permeates the soil of my soul, a seed that has been deeply in the earth for many years, just smiles. So he said, continues, while reading or listening, don't work too hard. Be like the earth. When the rain comes, the earth only has to open herself up to the rain. Allow the rain of the Dharma to come in and penetrate the seeds that are buried deep in your consciousness. A teacher cannot give you the truth. The truth is already in you. You only need to open yourself, body, mind, and heart, so that the teachings will penetrate their own seeds of understanding and enlightenment, your own seeds of understanding and enlightenment. If you let the words enter you, the soil and the seeds will do the real work. So that's just the very first, that's actually page 12, but it's the very first part of the text. So you get a sense that out of the other parts, of which there are considerable pages, somewhere in the order of 250, coming to right view, and many explanations and developments of mindfulness and of the Eightfold Path, and many illustrations to help students to understand the meaning of those, what it just in textual form might be a little obscure, but because of the illustrations and the poetry all mixed in, it makes for a wonderful book. So I just wanted to pass that along if anybody is interested in, and probably some of you have already perused it or refer to it, but if you're looking for a book that's very comprehensive of Thich Nhat Hanh's of Tays, then I would recommend this one. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yes, so when I had this thought of also bringing Zen practice to Israel, I wondered where to start. And I looked up on the internet and I saw that there was a Zen meditation teacher in Jerusalem. And I emailed them and I never heard from them. But then on the last day before I was leaving, all of a sudden they called me and we had a quick meeting. And so Baruch and Shelak Shalek are teachers in the Thich Nhat Hanh tradition. And we became very, very good friends. And inspired by the teachings of Thai, they are especially active in also holding retreats among Palestinians. And when we organized our first retreat, they were so kind to even join our retreat, even though it was a Sambo Zen retreat. And our friendship has been very deep, and I admire them. Baruch is a social worker. So they're also very active in social justice in Israel, especially relations between Israelis and Palestinians, trying to foster them through spiritual practice and retreats. And a few years back, a very good, close German friend of mine had great difficulties with her son who had some mental challenges. And so my friends in Israel, Baruch and Sheila, immediately contacted the Plum Village in France and helped me to arrange a stay for them in Plum Village. And this was very transformative for both of them and made a big impact on the young man who is now back to normal life. But so I feel, even though I never knew Tang personally, I feel very connected to Sheila and Baruch. They are also very active in another group that we then founded of spiritual group in Jerusalem. And they are like the key members of that. So we have a meeting tomorrow morning on Zoom at 6 o'clock in the morning. So they keep it alive. And you can just, when you interact with them, you feel this quiet radiation that Bobbie Perkins had also been describing. And then also this open heart to interact with anyone, and their really thirst to help people and to change situations in society of injustice.
Thank you. I would like to end with a quote from Thich Nhat Hanh, especially for those who are struggling in their saying, when we try to condition ourselves with outside the forces. So Thich Nhat Hanh says, I don't know if this is from a book of silence or book entitled Silence. He says, silence is ultimately something that comes from the heart, not from any set of conditions outside us. Thank you. So now we will chant. The order of chanting will be tonight will be the verse of purification, boundless compassion, excuse me, the Heart Sutra, and we will close with the 4 vows. Boundless compassion. As loving sounds awakens the Buddha.
this Buddha, the source of compassion, this Buddha receives only compassion, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, just compassion, thus the pure heart always rejoices, in the light recall this, in the dark recall this, moment after moment the true heart arises, time after time there is nothing but this, absorbing world sounds awakens the Buddha right here, this Buddha, the source of compassion, this Buddha receives only compassion, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, just compassion, thus the pure heart always rejoices, in the light recalls it, in the dark recalls it, moment after moment the true heart arises, time after time there is nothing but this, absorbing world sounds awakens the Buddha right here, this Buddha, the source of compassion, this Buddha receives only compassion, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, just compassion, thus the pure heart always rejoices, in the light recalls, in the dark recalls, moment after moment the true heart arises, time after time there is nothing but this.
The Heart of the Perfection of Great Wisdom Sutra.
Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, practicing deep prajna paramita, perceive the emptiness of all five constituents and overcame all suffering. O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form, form is precisely emptiness, emptiness precisely form, sensation, thought, impulse, and consciousness are also like this. O Shariputra, all things are manifestations of emptiness, not born, not destroyed, not sane, not pure, no gain, no loss. Thus in emptiness there is no form, no sensation, no thought, no impulse, nor consciousness, no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, no color, sound, smell, taste, touch, think, no realm of sight, no realm of consciousness, no ignorance, no ending to ignorance, no old age and death, no ceasing of old age and death, no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending to suffering, no path, no wisdom, and no gain, no gain. Thus Bodhisattvas live this prajna paramita with no hindrance of mind, no hindrance, therefore no fear, far beyond all delusion. Nirvana is already here, all past, present, and future Buddhas live this prajna paramita and attain supreme perfect enlightenment. Therefore know that prajna paramita is the great mantra, the great bright mantra, the supreme mantra, the unsurpassable mantra, by which all suffering is wiped away. This is the truth without deception. Therefore set forth this Prajnaparamita mantra. Set forth this mantra and proclaim Gate, Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhisvaha, Prajnaparamita Sutra.
The four vows of the Bodhisattva.
Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. The Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The enlightened way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. The Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The enlightened way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. The Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The enlightened way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all honored ones, Bodhisattvas, Mahasattvas, wisdom beyond wisdom, Prajna Paramita.
Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you, Helen, for organizing tonight's ceremony. I would have loved to acknowledge everyone, especially those who are not usually in our regular sits. So please come again so that you will be acknowledged duly next time, especially those who are new to joining us every Tuesday from 7 to 8 p.m. Central Time. This is how we connect with one another, just sitting in silence. And so I would like to recommend, if you have not done so, if you have not had the chance to see Oprah Winfrey's interview with Thich Nhat Hanh, there is Thich Nhat Hanh off the cuff. It's a lovely and very inspiring conversation. So please check that out. Good night and good luck.
Some
Last words.
announcements, Ruben.
Yes,
We
please.
will be having our Day of Zen this coming Saturday. So if you have not registered, please we'll go to our website and you will see the link to the events, and then it would say Day of Zen. I think by February we will start again meeting in person on Sundays. And that will be from 4 to 5 every Sunday, and we'll try to do it hybrid. And lastly, I hope we don't wait for another occasion like this. Usually when somebody dies, there are so many people who gather together. And so I hope that we don't have to wait for that occasion for us to be together again. I mean, it was so inspiring to see like 42 people sit together when ordinarily we would have, like less than 20. So thank you very much for joining us tonight.
I'd like to mention Kevin Mullins from Canada, who did not show us his face, but I
Kevin
know
is
you're there. Oh, there you are. in
There,
the
he's
front.
there,
Thank
but
you
he's
so much,
not-
Kevin. A longtime friend and practitioner.
Hi, Ruben.
Good to hear you. Kevin, let's connect.
Always a joy to be with you.
Thank you. Yes, a joy that you are here. And everyone else, please continue and we will acknowledge you as we go along. So tonight we will close for now, but we will be connected in our practice and in the breath. Thank you so much. Oh, Arturo Montiel, I did not know you. Are you still there?
Yeah, he's still there. He's already leaving.
Anyway, hopefully you can come again next time and we will get to know you better. Good night.